Hidden in plain sight deep in the heart of Berlin, stands a billion-dollar relic of the past, one of the largest and most expensive abandoned buildings in all of Europe. Built to be a symbol of power, progress, and innovation, this massive structure was once the pride of West Berlin. It housed cutting-edge technology, hosted global conferences, and even contained one of the biggest stages in Europe. But today, it's completely deserted. So what happened? How did a billion-dollar mega-project go from futuristic marvel to abandoned shell? And more importantly, does it have a future? Today, we're stepping inside to uncover its unbelievable story, from its Cold War origins to its mind-blowing engineering and the battle to bring it back to life. In 1979, a spaceship landed in West Berlin, or at least that's what the locals called it. Officially, it was known as the International Congress Center, or ICC, an enormous, high-tech convention center that would become one of the most expensive buildings ever constructed in Europe. To understand why this place was built, you have to go back to the Cold War. At the time, Berlin was a city literally cut in half. On one side, East Berlin was under communist control, dominated by Soviet influence. On the other, West Berlin stood as a democratic enclave, backed by Western powers like the US and Britain. Everything politics, culture, even architecture became a battleground between these two opposing ideologies. In the East, the Soviets were making a statement. They had just built the Palace of the Republic, a massive, gleaming structure designed to house East Germany's parliament. It was meant to showcase the strength and ambition of the communist government, filled with rare materials like marble and intricate wood paneling luxuries almost unheard of in the Soviet sphere. Not to be outdone, the West needed something bigger, more advanced, and undeniably futuristic. Their answer? The ICC. Unlike the East's grand political palace, this structure would be a capitalist powerhouse, a cutting-edge convention center designed to attract international business, global conferences, and trade fairs. More than just a building, it was a political statement. West Berlin was thriving, modern, and connected to the world. West Berlin wasn't just trying to match the East, they wanted to surpass it. To make that happen, they needed a bold, cutting-edge design. Husband and wife architects Ralf Schuler and Ursulina Schuler-Witt were chosen to bring this vision to life, and what they created was unlike anything Berlin had ever seen. The ICC was a fusion of brutalism and high-tech architecture. Its exposed steel beams, sharp angles, and machine-like aesthetic made it look more like a spacecraft than a convention center. And it wasn't just for show. This building was packed with groundbreaking engineering. Construction began in 1973, and by the time it was completed in 1979, the project had cost more than 900 million Deutsche Marks, over $1 billion today. At 320 meters long, 80 meters wide, and 40 meters high, the ICC was one of the largest buildings in Berlin. In fact, if you laid the Eiffel Tower down flat, it would nearly fit inside. But size wasn't the only challenge. The ICC was built at the intersection of several major highways, meaning soundproofing was critical. The solution? A building within a building design. The main structure, the conference halls and event spaces, was completely enclosed within a massive outer shell, effectively isolating it from the noise and vibrations of the outside world. This created one of the quietest, most acoustically advanced convention centers on the planet. Step inside the ICC, and it feels like walking into a sci-fi movie. From the moment visitors entered, they were surrounded by futuristic design, neon lighting, and a layout that was as functional as it was otherworldly. The ground floor, called the Boulevard, was the heart of the building, acting as a massive central hub. Staircases and escalators branched off like roads, directing people to different levels. The lighting system, designed by Berlin-based artist Frank Ohring, wasn't just for aesthetics. It helped people navigate the maze-like structure. Red lights on one side, blue on the other, all leading toward the center. And then there was the brain. This enormous 3-story light sculpture sat right in the middle of the building, radiating glowing strands of neon designed to look like nerve fibers spreading throughout the ICC. Its purpose? To to be a conversation starter, a literal icebreaker meant to bring people together. Beyond the main halls, the ICC's lecture rooms continued the space age theme. One of the most famous, Hall 6, was directly inspired by Star Trek, with sleek, futuristic styling that added to the building's nickname, the spaceship. But the true engineering marvel of the ICC was its massive main hall. This auditorium could seat 5,000 people, making it the largest conference space in Germany at the time. And it had a secret. The floor could be lifted, connecting it to another hall to form one of the biggest stages in Europe. Yet, the most mind-blowing part? The entire main hall was floating. As impressive as the ICC looked, its real genius was hidden in its structure. Unlike most buildings, the ICC's two largest halls weren't supported from below, they were suspended from the roof. Here's how it worked. Massive steel trusses stretched across the top of the building, acting as the main load-bearing support. From these trusses, enormous steel rods extended downward, holding the conference halls in place like giant hanging platforms. This design completely isolated the halls from external noise and vibrations, a crucial feature given the ICC's location next to major highways. The benefits of this were huge. First, it meant the halls had no supporting columns, leaving massive open spaces inside. Second, by suspending the floors, the architects ensured near-perfect acoustics, no shaking from traffic, no disruptions from other events happening in the building. A physical model of the ICC perfectly demonstrates how the weight of these floating halls was transferred through the steel columns and into the foundation. The entire system was designed to handle everything from crowd movements to earthquakes, making the ICC one of the most advanced buildings of its time. But while the ICC's engineering was groundbreaking, not everyone was convinced it was worth the cost. When the ICC opened, reactions were mixed. Some people saw it as a bold statement of modernity, a futuristic landmark that showcased West Berlin's ambition. Others saw it as an overpriced extravagance, an architectural gamble that had cost more than $1 billion. Despite the controversy, the ICC quickly became one of the busiest convention centers in the world. It hosted international conferences, business summits, and massive trade fairs. Its unique design and advanced engineering made it an ideal venue for large-scale events. But over time, problems started to surface. The building was simply too big and too expensive to maintain. Running costs were massive. And by the early 2000s, the ICC was struggling to stay relevant. By 2014, it was officially shut down. Since then, the once thriving convention center has remained mostly abandoned. In the years following its closure, it's been temporarily repurposed, used as a refugee shelter, a COVID vaccination center, and even an art exhibition space. But for the most part, it has sat empty, its spaceship-like halls gathering dust. Despite this, the ICC remains one of Berlin's most beloved buildings. Many people see it as an irreplaceable part of the city's history, an architectural relic that represents a defining era in Berlin's past. But now, there's a chance it could be reborn. For years, Berlin has debated what to do with the ICC. Some argued it should be demolished, clearing the way for something new. Others fought to save it, believing the building was too iconic to lose. Now, the city has a plan, a global competition to find the best way to repurpose the ICC. Investors and architects from around the world have been invited to pitch their ideas. The catch? Whoever takes on the project gets the ICC for free, a 99-year lease at no cost. The only requirement is that the new owners must restore and remodel the building while keeping it open for public use. It's a rare opportunity, and interest has been huge. Berlin's startup culture is booming, and the ICC's revival could become a centerpiece of the city's future. Recent events, like a sold-out art exhibition inside the abandoned halls, have shown just how much love still exists for this so-called spaceship. By 2026, the city hopes to have made a decision. If all goes according to plan, this billion-dollar mega-build could finally return to life, proving that even after decades of abandonment, some structures are just too important to be forgotten. What do you think? Should the ICC be saved, or is it time to move on? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit it like so more people can see it. And if you love exploring abandoned mega projects like this, subscribe, there's a lot more coming. Thanks for watching.